the meetings would go on for so long, but everyone seemed pretty fired up, huh? Paimon thought they'd be at least a little frightened. Well, Fremine was, now that Paimon thinks about it, but everyone else just looked a little surprised. Well... It's hard to say. Paimon doesn't have any experience with this sort of thing. But with you around, Paimon sure will do great. After all, you're the most reliable person in the world, aren't you? Did you just pour some tea? Paimon didn't notice you doing that at all. Then what's that? Paimon's never seen that cup before.
Don't be frightened. I'm just joining you two for tea. I merely refrained from saying anything till now.
Who's that voice? But there's no one here.
What a strange conclusion, but also such an interesting one. You two make such a fascinating combo, and yet even you feel confused. As such, I couldn't resist but come by for some tea and a chat. Consider me a passerby, just accepting a commission from my friend's disciple on a whim. Precisely. Call me N, a mage who wanders the world. At least, that's how my friends have suggested that I introduce myself. The prophecy. Yes, what has been prophesied will be fulfilled. You may view such things as the history of the future.
What? Then is there any way we can stop it?
People call such things fate, and it is written in the stars. It cannot so easily be altered. So you've caught on. Just as prophecies are usually only the future as seen from the perspectives of the gods, could things be happening in hidden corners where the gods' gaze does not fall? Are the things that you shall see different from the fate that the gods perceive?
What is she talking about? It all sounds really impressive and important and stuff, but it also sounds kind of scary.
I believe that you understand, right? Some things are insignificant, but others you must reach out to change. Ultimately, fate shall serve as your only guide, no matter what will happen in Tevat's future. All you need to do is to play your part. This was good tea, by the way. Thank you for your hospitality. Well, that'll be all for today.
The voice. It's gone. What? I want to hear someone talking. Alright, coming! Hey, it's you who's getting lazy, okay?
Well, I see I've walked in on some lively banter.
Luna!
Fine, just fine. I went to take part in that Steambird panel. It turned out to be more interesting than I expected. Not all Fontanians are pessimistic about this. One journalist mentioned that sitting around and waiting for the end to come would be wrong, and that they should make their own rescue preparations. I agreed, so we had a brief chat with her.
Did she have pink hair by any chance?
Why, yes, it was Charlotte. I assume you've heard of her, no? That daredevil journalist? I'm in full support of her view. Prophecies are very important, but how can people allow their lives to be commandeered by just a few words?
That's right! Paimon's glad to hear something sensible for once.
Ah, yes. About what we had discussed before. I did try, but I'm afraid I couldn't reach the old hag. I'll try again tonight, but I wouldn't get your hopes up. Huh? Goodness gracious. Are you serious?
She said that even the god's gaze has blind spots. Pretty bold if you ask Paimon. Most people would believe the gods to be all-knowing, right?
The Hexen Circle members are certainly anything but ordinary. As for the mage named N, the old hag has mentioned her a few times. She said that N's sense of direction is incredible, and that she loves guiding those who are lost. But I've never met her, and if she were still alive, she'd be... well, suffice it to say that the hag's at least a few hundred now, and N's been around for longer than that.
Whoa, the Hexen Circle sounds like a scary group. But they must really stay in shape to live so long.
Their abilities alone are pretty terrifying. If she came to see you personally, then the problem you're facing must truly be of great importance.
Well, it's not like Paimon could understand anything she said.
Yes, she was quite cryptic, but I suspect she means that there is still a way to turn things around. She didn't say when or what that would be, though, so... perhaps it is something that you cannot know right now. Traveler, Paimon, are you two all right?
Oh, we're fine. We're just a little down right now. It kind of feels like the end is coming, you know?
I see. I feel that same sense of desperation, too. I guess you could consider me someone who has often witnessed fate. So far as I have seen, it cannot be swayed. But even so, I still hope for, and believe in, miracles. Astrology is eternal and rational, but fate may not be. It is cruel, but it can also be beautiful. Perhaps that's what En was trying to tell you. Not to lose heart, and to believe that what you are seeing playing out before you is not yet set in stone. I did originally think of steering clear of all this, but I couldn't. Even if this is all futile, I still wish to help everyone. If we don't struggle to the last, then how can we face the end when it comes?
Huh. You do have a point.
There I go, talking about astrological principles again. Sorry about that. The moment I start talking about work-related stuff... I need to get going. It was worth trying to comfort you, even if only a little. I believe that you'll help those who are struggling in the same way I did. I suppose that might be why we always seem to meet by coincidence.
Paimon feels kind of moved by what Mona said. But hey, Traveler, Paimon suddenly feels like going outside for a walk. Let's go. Let's walk around the city, shall we? There's a few spots we always like to walk by.
If you want to outrun the law, you need to know how it works.
There's still a long road ahead. We can do this!
Whatever business you're in, you gotta keep up with the changing times.
People here really need to get more sunlight. Am I imagining things? Or is all this standing making me dizzy?
Adventuring underground is way more fun than I thought. Huh? Our names are written in this newspaper. What's going on? Let Paimon see! The underwater stronghold, the Fortress of Meripede, has continued in its noble autonomy, but that does not mean that others cannot interact with it. My recent attempts to enter the fortress bore little fruit. Huh. Guess Charlotte still hasn't given up on that. Thus, did an Outlander friend become the focus of this report, a blonde adventurer with their white fairy legends trailing in their wake. It is said that this mysterious traveler once visited the underwater fortress. So while the fortress's interior remains a mystery behind closed doors, do not fear, for the tales of the traveler contain surprises in spades. Journalist Charlotte's biggest scoop yet, the Traveler's Trail, World Walker. Huh. Charlotte took so many awesome photos of us and we never even noticed her. She hasn't been able to get a hold of anything at the fortress, so since we're easier to find, she's using us as the subject matter instead? Ugh, seriously? Well, fine. Those headlines and photos do look cool, so Paimon will forgive her this time.
I'll protect us.
We're here! Paimon's hungry. Should we go in and get something to eat? Hey, quick! Look! That's the limited edition only 16 slices a day cake! It was so delicious the last time we tried it! Despite the tense situation we were in, let's give it another go! I'm sure it'll be great!
1 slice of cake, please.
Someone showed up after all! Oh, wait, you're the one from the Palais Mermonia.
Oh, are you here to buy cake too? It seems Monsieur Nervalette was right. You really can eat.
Wait, did he really say something like that?
That's right. Even he has his own preferences when it comes to food. As for me, I love the cake and coffee here.
Do you come here often?
Usually every day.
Every day?
It's part of my daily schedule, apart from work. I shall have my cake and coffee.
Then what if someone told you one day that this place would be closing soon, and you wouldn't get to eat cake here anymore? What would you think?
But why would it close?
Well, Paimon doesn't know either, but maybe the waters will rise tomorrow. You know, like in the prophecy.
Oh, the prophecy. To be honest, I haven't paid much attention to that. No, still, even if there'd be no more cake tomorrow, that wouldn't keep me from having some today. No, it's the same for eating in general. You might not be able to eat tomorrow, but if you can do so today, then you should carry on. That's what people call living, you know.
Huh.
Don't be sad. Excuse me, could I have 2 more slices of cake to go? These 2 slices are for you. Sijuin said that this kind of expression you're making is what humans call being sad.
Oh, you know Sijuin?
I sure do. She was born before me, and she sometimes comes to the surface to teach us things about humans. She said that humans are creatures that are saddened easily, yes, and you can only lift their spirits by feeding them delicious food. So please try the cakes here. I've got something else to do, so I'll be going now. You two try to stay in a good mood after eating, all right? Bye.
And there she goes. All right, let's dig in. I'm sure this cake will be delicious. It's more delicious than last time, and the flavor gets even better with a sip of tea. It sure would be nice if we could come again tomorrow. Sure would be nice if we could always eat delicious food here.
Art is the key ingredient in fine dining.
Forget about me. This is about what you want.
If you want tea or water, just help yourselves.
So annoyed.
Oh, we're near the Steambird office. Let's go look for Charlotte and have a chat.
article I wrote about you?
Ha! You've got some nerve! You just used us to make some quick mora!
Oh, you needn't worry about that. I heard that you were in Poisson some time back, so I sent you a letter to discuss just that. It appears you didn't receive it, though. It's all right, though. I've set aside the amount intended for you. I've even set the table with some food.
Really? Oh,
you're almost a little too easy to win over, Paimon. If I were a journalist with ulterior motives, you'd be in trouble now, you know.
Oh, Paimon knows you're not like that.
Still, what brings you here all of a sudden? Were you looking for me?
A friend of ours met you a while back, and when she mentioned it, we thought of coming to see you. Her name's Mona.
Ah, so you know Miss Mona as well. She's a guest columnist for our paper. Really good one, too. She's so young and already such a brilliant astrologist. So she mentioned me? What did she say?
She said that you're a real daredevil of a journalist.
Nice. In which case, can this daredevil journalist dare to request an exclusive interview with the legendary traveler and Paimon?
Huh? So your article in the paper today doesn't count?
Oh, of course it doesn't. That was more like live photography. What I'd like to do is dive deeper and ask you to talk about the things you've seen and experienced.
Yeah, are we even qualified enough?
Why not? If I say you're worth an interview, then you're worth it. But not right now, of course. I'll need a few days to prepare.
Oh, in that case, we'll just chat when you have the time then?
Oh, so that's a yes? Ooh, splendid! I'll tell the editor-in-chief immediately. I'll have to apply for lighting, a venue, some props, and... Whew, so much to get done now. Talk to you later.
Wait, Charlotte, Paimon's still got a question for you.
And what's that?
If, just for example, Fontaine were to be flooded tomorrow, what would you do today?
Huh, that's the prophecy you're talking about, isn't it? I mean, I do hear about it often, but I've never once thought that the day could be tomorrow. If you're seriously asking, then I might try and think of a way to leave Fontaine. Oh, but I'm still a journalist first and foremost. That means I have a duty to be reporting from the scene. And secondly, I wouldn't forsake my homeland that easily. From what I've seen, most people don't know what they'd do should the worst come to pass. In truth, it might be better just to behave like normal rather than worry over such an end. So in all likelihood, I'd probably still be prepping at the office for that interview of ours. I know what you're thinking. That sounds a bit sad, but I've always believed that it's best to do what you enjoy. Just think about it. If this nation really were to be suddenly destroyed tomorrow, but I still successfully finish an exclusive interview with a truly unique person, then the story I would wind up writing would truly be timeless. And then do you know what I'd do? Well, I'd write that story, send it for printing, and use messenger pigeons to get copies out to the various nations as soon as possible. I'm not a dreamer, nor am I a workaholic, but I do love my job, and I'd be proud of leaving such an article behind. I guess you could say that I was born to be a journalist. But anyway, that's my answer. And on that note, I'll get back to my preparations.
That's so nice. All of a sudden, Paimon actually kinda envies her. Anyway, let's go and take a look at the sea, shall we? The sea breeze and scenery can be a pretty soothing combo, huh? Paimon's been thinking. If it wasn't Fontaine, but all of Tevat that would be destroyed tomorrow, where would we go and what would we do? No, Paimon should ask, if you could choose, what would you like to do? We've always been moving to the next destination, so we haven't spent much time thinking about these kinds of things. We didn't have to either, with us always being on the road and whatnot. You mean, still traveling? Huh. Wait, isn't that what we've always been doing? like he'll grow mold if you stay here long enough. But it's still better than the Fortress of Mirapede, that's for sure. It's not only damp there, but salty too.
Ah, so the two of you are still here. Wonderful.
Oh, you're from the Palais Mermonia, aren't you?
Yes, I'm Isadora. Monsieur Nervillac sent me to look for you two before. I heard that afterward you went to the Fortress of Meropide. Not at all. I'm well aware that you're friends of his. Actually, I'm here to pass along a message from him. Yes, inside the Opera House. The Maréchaussée Phantom has declared the incident a small-scale riot.
A riot?
Well, that said, I don't personally think it was that serious. Lady Farina was watching a performance at the Opera House, and while she was resting during an intermission, some other audience members suddenly started harassing her, loudly accusing her of doing nothing about the prophecy crisis. And before she could respond, others started to join in. The crowd continued to grow, and protests against the Hydro Archon started to break out.
So people have started to put the blame on Farina. Guess they finally found an outlet for the pressure they've been under due to the prophecy.
I agree. People will naturally rely on gods, as is customary. But the moment people feel threatened, gods are also the first to be blamed.
So what happened after that? Is Farina okay?
Seeing that the situation was spiraling out of control and that further argument was pointless, she claimed that she'd gotten tired of this and left in a hurry. The Maréchaussée Phantom had their hands full maintaining order and did not catch where Lady Farina had gone. Only when things had stabilized did we realize that she had gone missing.
So, you mean she's still missing?
That's right. The Maréchaussée has dispatched many people to search for her, but we don't have any leads yet. That said, I don't think there's much to worry about. She is a god after all. Even if she were to fall into the hands of rioters, what could ordinary people do to her? Good. Monsieur Nervillac sent me to tell you about the situation, but he didn't say anything else.
Don't worry, this is more than enough to go on. Thanks for keeping us informed.
Ah, is that so? Well, all right then. In that case, you two take care. I'll be heading back to the Palais now.
Well, sounds like we should hurry over to Poisson then. If we know Farina, she won't try to fix things in this situation. Instead, she'll look for a place to wait out the heat. And, as we also know, she may be loud and dramatic, but she doesn't have a heart of stone. When Nervalet was talking to her in the Palais Mermonia, and she heard about Poisson, she couldn't hide her sadness and remorse. It would be hard for her to ignore being accused by the public today. Paimon thinks Farina's probably taken the opportunity to slip away to Poisson and try to relieve the sense of guilt that she's feeling. Huh. Well, what do you think? Paimon knows the answer, of course, but Paimon can do the analysis to back it up, too. Cool, huh? In that case, there's not a moment to lose. Poisson, here we come!
Ready, steady, go!
This place looks deserted. Guess all the survivors must have evacuated already. All that's left here are signs of death at station. Could Farina really be here? Let's try to find her as soon as possible. That's Farina, right over there.
Should I just give up? This is all meaningless. What was meant to happen did happen after all. Everyone's dead. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Give up, Farina. There's no point in holding out. I'm sorry. But what can I even do other than to repeat meaningless apologies over and over? Who's that?
Don't worry, Farina, it's just us.
So it is you, blonde traveler from another land. Why, I almost thought you were someone from that mob of my ignorant subjects, come to kneel and beg for my forgiveness.
Farina, you were crying just now, weren't you? The tear stains on your face are obvious.
What do you mean, tear stains? Oh, I remember. The show at the Opera House earlier this morning was so moving. I'm still trying to process it. Who did that uncivilized rabble think they were, disturbing my enjoyment of the arts? They even dare to tout their Archon. I must teach them a lesson. I can just imagine their twisted and frustrated faces once they realize that I'm nowhere to be found. Oh, and I'm sure Nouvellette and those people from the Maréchaussée Phantom are freaking out right next to them, too. Of course not.
Hey, there she is! The Hydro Archon's over there! Quick, after her!
Farina, those people seem to be after you.
They are? They're just some rabid fans who want to cut the line because they haven't been able to meet me in person, aren't they? That's against the rules. I can't let them get their way.
Farina just ran off! Quick, we have to catch up with her! This should be the place, right? Hey, Farina! There's a good hiding spot over here. Quick, come to Paimon before the rest of them catch up to you.
What? What is this place?
Hurry, they're almost here.
Fine, fine. I suppose haste is warranted. Lead the way.
exhausted.
I'm so tired. I totally thought they had caught me. No, I mean, I merely gave in to the sheer enthusiasm they displayed. You're right.
Yep, that's a good girl.
What's happening? The ground's shaking. Is it an earthquake?
Yeah, a quake of this kind preceded the flooding in Poisson, didn't it?
It can't be. It's happening again.
Well, there's no need to worry too much about that. Neverlette's made some emergency plans, so the evacuation should go a lot smoother this time.
Yeah, I hope you're right. But the people of Poisson, they've already... It's true. I've been investigating the prophecy for hundreds of years. I once had informants all over Tevat, searching for clues and feeding information back to me. I've tried all kinds of ways, too, to hold back the sea. Anything to keep the coastline from advancing. But all my efforts proved to be futile in the end. Really, the truth has been clear to me for a very long time. We cannot make an enemy of the divine. No matter what we do, the will of the heavenly principles will have its way, and the prophecy shall be fulfilled. Give up. I do love the sound of that phrase. It would mean finally coming to terms with fate, but also for me to finally be free. Indeed, I've thought about giving up so many times, especially after we almost lost Poisson. Fate is really unreasonable, isn't it? It has no heart and obeys no rules. The prophecy has only just started to come true, and so many people have already lost their lives. But just now, it all became clear to me. I still don't have the right to come to terms with fate on behalf of everyone else. As long as the final moment hasn't come, it's still not too late. Don't worry. I will keep hope alive for everyone until the very end. Well, that's enough for now. I got the impulse to play the stricken maiden, but honestly, considering my rank and station, that wasn't a good fit at all. Don't take any of what I just said seriously. How could I possibly let Fontaine fall to the whims of trivial prophecy?
Come on! Paimon could have sworn you were actually being honest just now.
Share my burden. That's impossible. It was fated right from the start that this would be my duty alone. A witness. Yes, I've heard that you came to Tevat from beyond the stars, yes. In other words, you never belonged here. And if Tevat is, in its entirety, a show on a stage, then you're just a spectator, aren't you? If that's the case...
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes my opening performance. Now, without further ado, we may proceed to the trial of our god.
So this is what it is. Yes, you deserve praise for the effort you took to raise the dramatic stakes. Do not forget, however, that I am Focalor, the god of justice, the embodiment of justice itself. Does it not strike you as even the least bit absurd to bring the very concept of justice to trial?
May I interpret these words as your refusal to stand trial? In that case, you will have the opportunity to defend your honor through a duel.
You would draw your blade against a god? I see. It seems like you have made up your mind.
Paimon can't believe it. She just surrendered.
What the heck is going on? Did I just see an Archon surrender to a human?
Wow, how utterly humiliating.
Lady Farina, what is the meaning of this?
Shh! It would seem that there has been a misunderstanding. To be clear, the raising of both hands is not always an indication of surrender.
Looking for excuses again, huh?
I raised my hands just now to indicate my acceptance of the trial. No duel shall be necessary. I will admit that I've been running away for a long time. I'm sorry, everyone. I was unable to protect the people of Poisson. It is my duty to stand trial for my crimes. You are not the only ones to be disappointed in me. I, too, am exceedingly disappointed in myself. But now, it is time for the Hydro Archon to show you her courage and resolve. I, Farina, will use this trial to show the world the true meaning of justice! This time, I will protect you. Applaud and rejoice! One of the most outrageous and fantastical arcs known to the opera epiclese is now unfolding before your eyes. Mark my words, this shall be one of the most exhilarating and brilliant shows ever to grace the stage of Fontaine! The trial of the Hydro Archon, Focalor, will now begin!
Woohoo!
Oh, now we're making history!
Why does it feel like Farina just took over the whole thing? Like, come on! Didn't she just get forced to stand trial for her crimes? Also, even though she's still acting super dramatic, she is taking this seriously this time, right?
All right, then. Who will be my opponent in this trial?
The court asks the prosecutor to please take the stand.
Is that so? Very well. Then please speak, witness of Tivat, my accuser and fated opponent. Also, please allow me to ask, as a final question before the trial begins. Just how much work did you do to force me onto this stage?
Well, we did do a lot of prep after the meeting that day.
I can go over the tasks assigned to the Spina di Rosula, since they were rather straightforward and easy.
Navia, the president of the Spina di Rosula.
Most of the people who participated in the disturbance this morning were my subordinates. They changed into plain clothes and came to the Opera House as regular audience members, waiting for the perfect opportunity to incite insurrection against you. The people's resentment against their Archon has been building as more and more of the prophecy is fulfilled. A spark was all we needed to turn smoldering anger into a flame. Moreover, according to our understanding and analysis of you, when something like that occurred, you would likely flee the scene and head to Poisson by yourself. So, we arranged for a second group to lie in wait there.
So, you mean... the ones who scoured the settlement for me were also from the Spina?
And their goal was to force you to step into the giant magic box so you may personally participate in the greatest magic performance in all of Fontanian history.
That's right. That house was a magic box, rather than someone's residence.
As the super ultimate version of the setup that I used when I first performed at the Opera Epiclese, the volume of the box was increased by a whole order of magnitude, and the distance it traversed was the entire gap between Poisson and Aranias. Its cargo, of course, was an Archon instead of a human. My thanks, Farina. Without your help, we could never have pulled off such an extraordinary performance.
You're welcome?
Of course, this performance was only made possible with Father's support. The House of the Hearth spent a massive amount of labor in Mora to pull this off. We had to select a location, construct the giant magic box, dig a tunnel, and open up a path through the water. It was a lot of work for all of us.
So, in other words, the earthquake that we felt within the giant magic box was just a normal tremor from the transportation of the whole house?
That's right. It wasn't a sign of another disaster to come.
Then, I can guess Nervilette and Cloran's parts. You gathered a crowd, prepared a stage, and made sure that the champion duelist would be immediately ready for a fight. Also that as soon as I appeared on the stage, the trial may commence without a hitch. Am I right?
Yes, that is correct.
Well, Clorand, I must commend you for your courage. Only the most outstanding champion duelist in all of Fontaine would accept a duel with an Archon without flinching.
Thank you.
As for you, Traveler, I suppose your role was to keep me distracted with conversation once you found me in Poisson. You'd make sure that I didn't notice anything amiss before revealing yourself as my prosecutor once we'd arrived onto the stage.
Oh?
Is that so? Then I suppose I must have missed my final chance. It's fine. It matters not. What's done is done. The stage is already set, so there's no reason to disappoint the audience. Let's see this trial through to the very end.
Madam Prosecutor, please allow me to pass this along. This is a document that Miss Charlotte applied for and received permission to share with you during the trial. According to her, it should speed up the proceedings.
Huh? Charlotte wanted to give us something? Oh, so she's here too! Hey, Charlotte! Oh, let Paimon see. Isn't this the exclusive interview that she did with us before? So she's already finished it, huh? Wait, then that means this document is a perfect timeline of everything that's happened ever since. So in other words, we can refer to this anthology of evidence. Let's quickly confirm the information in it. Just think of it as a refresher, alright?
You defeated the Hydro Archon in the very first duels you took part in at the Opera House. I didn't think that you'd wind up getting to the bottom of the case I'd been following. This is the first time Monsieur Nervilette had a difference of opinion. A Fatui Harbinger. She's an extraordinary person. The fortress of Meripede was almost destroyed. According to Monsieur Nervilette, Both Child and that whale should have been in the primordial sea at that time. I nearly lost my awesome friend Navia. The words of someone as extraordinary as a witch can probably only be truly understood when something...
The prosecution and the defense are both in position. The trial shall now begin.
Oh, come on, Nervy lads. There's no need to repeat all the unimportant legalese. Just fast forward to the part where the prosecution lays out my offenses. As the defendant and the lead actress of this performance, I still haven't even been informed of my supposed guilt in all of this. Of course, it is only natural for humans to struggle to understand the actions of a god. However, you will need more than that to convict me of a crime.
That's true, but my charge here is unrelated to your conduct as an Archon. Instead, I would like to charge you as a fraud who's never been the Archon in the first place.
Wait, what was that? Lady Farina's a fraud?
Hey, I came here thinking that we were going to try the Hydro Archon for forsaking her duty, but did I hear that right? She's not our Archon at all?
Charge accepted. Lady Farina, do you plead guilty to the charge? Lady Farina.
I plead not guilty. How can I be guilty? There is no way that I, Focalor, otherwise known as Farina de Fontaine, a member of the Seven and the Regina of all waters, kindreds, peoples, and laws of Fontaine, could be anything other than your true Archon.
Yeah, even though Lady Farina can be rather eccentric, isn't it going too far to doubt her very identity?
Yeah, I've never questioned her identity either. Sure, Lady Farina can be super irresponsible, but what grounds does that prosecutor have to make such a huge claim?
I have cause to believe that common sense will prevail in this case. Many of the members of the audience have known me as the Hydro Archon ever since they were born. There would be no fooling their memory. See? Even the Oratrice has decided to show me its favor. Are you sure you want to commit to a charge that will never be upheld? If you wish to drop the case, I can promise you as the God of Justice that you will not have to face trial for making a false accusation. We will treat everything that's happened as a dramatic spectacle and move on with our lives. What do you say to that?
Huh. An argument with near impossible odds, huh? We have to not only refute Farina's claims, but also overturn the long-held beliefs of the people.
Well, I tried to give you the chance to surrender. If you must persist, then let me ask. If you believe I'm not the Archon, then what manner of being do you think I am? And if I was not the Archon, then how did I manage to live for over 500 years?
First of all, you may be a member of another long-lived race, which would allow you to naturally possess an extended lifespan. And second of all, even if that wasn't the case, there could be other ways to extend your life.
Who gave you that idea? Was it the knave? You'd sink so low as to use a harbinger's words against me.
A curse? I once thought it possible that the aura of an Archon might naturally resemble a type of curse. But in light of this claim, perhaps what I sensed was not your divinity, But a curse after all.
Neverlet sensed it too, huh?
Lady Farina is actually a human?
Well, it is true that it's extremely difficult to tell humans and gods apart just by looking at them. It's not impossible.
Well, don't start celebrating too early now. Even if I have been carrying a curse like you said, how does that prove that I am merely a human being? Besides, everyone knows that the main difference between a human and a god is the possession of authority. Gods can do what humans cannot. That's why they're worshipped as gods. For centuries, manifestations of my authority have served the nation of Fontaine. One need only to turn their eyes towards the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinal in this very opera house, or consider the indemnitium that is used in every aspect of life.
You tried to reference the Oratrice. But weren't you as confused as all the rest of us when the Oratrice declared Child to be guilty without any proof? Otherwise, you should have come up with a good explanation for that by now.
Didn't I make myself clear at the time? The decisions of the gods are naturally difficult for humans to comprehend. There is no need to provide an explanation.
Lady Farina, I believe a reminder of your current circumstances is in order. While the court is in session, the principles of justice and the law must come before all else. While you are an Archon, you are also first and foremost the defendant in this trial. You will prove yourself unable to defend against the prosecution's charges if you continue to withhold vital information against the rules of the court.
I never thought you'd use that kind of rhetoric against me.
That was no trick of rhetoric, Lady Farina. I've merely reiterated the rules of the court. Rules that all should respect and follow.
So, you neither knew why Child was declared guilty, nor did you understand the structure and operations of the Oratrice. Instead of having been created by you, the manifestations of authority you mentioned have been made by the real Hydro Archon, haven't they?
The real Hydro Archon? Well, now you're really losing me. It is true that I did not know why the Oratrice gave out a guilty verdict that day. But the Oratrice handed out that verdict unilaterally, and it has been operating independently ever since it was first created. You can't argue that just because a divine creation is flawed, that the god behind it must also be no god at all.
She's still throwing out all kinds of excuses. Seems like she's confident that we won't be able to produce proof that she has no power over the Oratrice.
My power as an Archon. There are many ordinary citizens in the audience. How can I just carelessly demonstrate the formidable power of an Archon?
If that poses a concern, I'm prepared to extend my protection to the audience.
You don't need to go that far.
Aren't you the Hydro Archon? Or is it that you can't even wield the power of Hydro, much less the authority of a god?
Indemnitium! Yes! It's all because of Indemnitium! All Archons derive their power from the faith of the people, and I've converted the people's faith in justice into Indemnitium! Thus did I give up all of my divine power to provide everyone with energy for their daily lives. Have you ever seen a more magnanimous god?
Isn't that a huge stretch?
Yeah, no matter how generous an Archon can be, how could they give up all their power? Can a god with no power even still be called a god?
Seems like nobody's buying Farina's excuse.
Hey, come now, everyone. Please don't stare at me as if I was a liar. I'm still the same Farina you knew, right? The one that you loved. Shouldn't you want to believe in me? Please? You've got to believe me.
If what the prosecutor said is true, she really has committed a grave offense.
Did she deceive all of us? And all of our parents and grandparents too? And all of our ancestors? Ever since they were born?
Enough. That's enough. Tell me then, if I'm not the real Hydro Archon, then who is? If you have no evidence of another Hydro Archon's existence, nor can you find anyone who can back up their claim to be such, then what grounds have you to say that I'm not actually the real deal?
Wow, she came up with yet another argument. How can we refute her now? Seems like she really doesn't want to give up. That doesn't sound right. It has been established that all Fontanians can dissolve in water from the primordial sea. And that means...
Since you insist on claiming to be a god and not a human, then there's a method that you can use right here and now to eliminate all suspicions of you being the latter.
Miss Navia, please apply to serve as a temporary attorney for the prosecution before addressing the court. Though you act in partnership with the prosecutor, you must still adhere to proper procedure.
Super sorry, Monsieur Chief Justice. I swear this really will be the last time that I'll speak out of turn. Now, I've brought some seawater from Poisson. As everyone knows, a massive flood struck the area not long ago, taking many lives, including those of some of my closest friends. So, Miss Farina, would you dare to touch some of this seawater? If we are to believe that you are indeed the real Hydro Archon, touching this seawater would have no effect on you. All it should do is strengthen your case. But if you don't dare to touch it, then we would have basically proved the reverse. Oh, and I must remind you that after the disaster at Poisson, nobody wants to see any more people dissolve. I do hope you'll act prudently and choose the simpler path of admitting guilt.
Navia from the Spina di Rasula. The Spina has governed Poisson for many years. I guess her suggestion is valid.
If Lady Farina is indeed just a human, she's probably Fontanian like all the rest of us. Would she really dare to try?
Lady Farina, this test has been unilaterally proposed by the prosecution. As it falls outside the realm of standard court proceedings, you possess the right to decline participation.
Well, of course he had to tell her that. But refusing to participate is basically the same as a confession of guilt.
She's just staring at the water without saying a single word. It really does seem like she's quite terrified of it. That could only mean...
What's going on? Is she really planning to... that's not what we thought she would...
Due to the inherent risk of the test, Lady Farina, you may...
Hey!
I'm fine! Look at me, everyone! My hand is still here! I haven't been dissolved! Will you believe me now? I really am your Archon! I'm nothing like a normal human who would fall apart as soon as they touch this water! Really, was this not the most obvious thing in the world?
Miss Siegewin? If you are present, Miss Siegewin, please come forward and attend to the defendant.
Siegewin?
Don't be nervous. It'll just take a few seconds. Let me see. That should be enough.
Please announce the results of your evaluation to the court, Miss Siegewin.
As everyone doubtlessly saw, Miss Farina was displaying symptoms of hyperventilation and flushed skin. These indicate that she was experiencing the adverse effects of exposure to primordial seawater. The extent to which she was affected is the same as other humans when exposed to primordial seawater of a similar concentration.
Thank you, Miss Siegewin. Lady Farina, you may return to the defendant's stand.
Oh, wait. What did she just say? I didn't get dissolved. Shouldn't that be enough to prove my innocence?
Well, considering your tendency to run from your problems, we did originally prepare a direct sample of the seawater around Poisson. However, after extensive discussion, we exchanged it for a sample that is not concentrated enough to dissolve an actual human. After all, on the off chance that something entirely unexpected might occur, we don't want anyone else to lose their life to the sea.
Yeah, so out of regard for Farina's life, you secured a low-concentration sample and asked the head nurse to serve as an expert witness. It's a great thing that the direct sample wasn't actually used. Farina could have...
I can't believe... you... Listen to me, everyone. Please don't give me such cold and disdainful looks. What happened just now didn't prove a single thing. Think about it. How can you conclusively prove that an Archon can't also be affected by the primordial seawater? Also, if I was really just a human, why would I dare to just put my hand in that kind of water? Please, anyone, just listen to me! I swear, I really am your Archon!
I don't think anything she says at this point will sway anyone. The odds are just too stacked against her now.
With all the things that have been said, Paimon doesn't think there's any way left for Farina to win.
I believe the time for arguments and presentation of evidence has come to an end. If there are no objections, we will move on to the final judgment.
I don't think anything she says at this point will sway anyone. She's too stacked against her now.
In my capacity as Chief Justice, I shall now render judgment on Farina's misrepresentation of herself as the Archon of Fontaine. As a human who knowingly deceived her fellow citizens, Farina is... guilty. We shall now turn to the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinale to render the final verdict on the charges. According to the judgment of the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinale, Farina is...
Well, what's wrong? What's the Oratrice's verdict?
No, the Oratrice also displays a guilty verdict.
Isn't that correct then?
However, The exact wording of the verdict is thus: the Hydro Archon, guilty, to be punished via the death sentence.
The death sentence?
That's actually one of the available sentences? I've always thought that it was just a myth.
The one and only time the death sentence has been handed out at the court, and it's been given to the very person we've worshipped as the god of justice? What an unexpected twist.
Furina's been sentenced to death by the Oratrice? We just wanted to use the trial to show her the seriousness of things so she'd tell us the truth. How did things escalate this quickly?
This outcome is indeed quite strange. According to Fontaine's current definitions of justice, as well as its recommendations for criminal sentences, is this sentence really appropriate for the crimes that have been committed?
Yeah! Even Fache wasn't sentenced to death by the Oratrice. You know, the real evil mastermind behind the serial disappearances case.
Indeed. Not only is Furina's sentence overly excessive, the very point of our trial today was also to prove that Furina has never been the Hydro Archon in the first place. But now, the Oratrice seems to have deliberately invoked the title of the Hydro Archon. What does this mean?
Excuse me, if I may interrupt. Is the trial still going?
Fremine! Oh, you finally made it. I assume this means you've completed your mission?
Mm-hmm. Any mission Father assigns to me will always be top priority.
Is that the first prophecy slate? Huh. So the knave privately arranged for Fremine to try and find the missing slate.
I looked everywhere and finally found it at the bottom of the sea. It took me a long time to get around some dangerous stretches of water. But has the trial already concluded? Then doesn't that mean I've come too late? Oh no. Father will be disappointed in me.
Thank you for your hard work, Mr. Fremine. Please allow me to review the record left on the slate. Traveler, I believe that you have already seen the other existing slates, and would like you to come here and confirm their contents.
Huh? So what do you see? What is it?
I believe I've now made sense of the Hydro Archon's crime. It has to do with Fontaine's lost history.
Huh? Isn't the Hydro Archon just guilty of deceiving her people? Oh, wait, no, that's Furina, and we've already proven that she's not the Hydro Archon. So when you say Hydro Archon, do you mean the real Hydro Archon we've been kinda talking about?
In truth, everything that you've encountered in Fontaine up until this point can be traced back to the contents of these stone slates. However, I'm uncertain as to how much sense they currently make to you.
Okay, let's try to recall the contents of the other 3 stone slates. Paimon will do her best to help you remember. The first stone slate describes what you just said. It seems to show the previous Hydro Arch. Does that mean that Fontanians are transformed Oceanids? Oh, Paimon wasn't expecting that. But the second stone slate shows Celestia floating in the sky, and the Hydro Archon and her people worshipping it together. But The heavens still brought judgment down upon. This must be the point when the Hydro Archon and the Fontanians were branded with their original sin. The third slate shows the Hydro Archon seeking into the sea, surrounded by many people. Huh. That reminds Paimon, didn't we also watch that happen to someone else? Well, the fourth slate is the prophecy the Fontanians have been talking about. People dissolving into the sea, the Hydro Archon crying on her throne, and so on. We didn't believe that such a crazy disaster could happen at first. That doesn't sound...
We know from the case of the serial disappearances of young women that Fontanians can be dissolved in primordial seawater. And the first stone slate tells us that long ago the Hydro Archon used her power to turn Oceanids into humans. This might be the reason that Fontanians can dissolve.
That doesn't...
Perhaps what is about to take place has all happened before. The true sin of the Hydro Archon that Nervilette mentioned, and the original sin cast down on the people of Fontaine by Celestia, as recorded on the stone slates. It's not as simple as falling into the sea. When Navia fell into the sea, her consciousness was subjected to judgment. The stone slates show the people gathered around the Hydro Archon in the sea. Could that be alluding to the same thing?
That doesn't sound... That doesn't...
The prophecy from the stone slates found its way into society, but not many people believed it at first. The fortress of Meropide was nearly flooded with primordial seawater, which we know can cause Fontanians to dissolve. It seems increasingly likely that the prophecy may come true. If we hadn't dealt with it in time, things could have gone very badly.
They'll dissolve into the primordial sea but won't cease to exist. Their essence will flow in the seawater, converge, and take the form of an Oceanid. The Hydro Archon was sentenced to death in court, shocking everyone present. Perhaps this means that her sin was actually Fontaine's original sin. Navia fell into the water inside those ruins, and she nearly dissolved. She was surrounded by the people of Poisson in a court within her consciousness, and was forced to take part in a trial meant to make her stay. The eruption of the primordial sea at the fortress of Meropide was the surest sign that the prophecy was about to come to pass no matter what. The stone slate's contents can all be verified by recent events. If we combine what we know together, loads of truths should come to light. share some truly shocking revelations.
Let's hear them.
Incredible. Linny, did you hear that?
We're not real humans.
All Fontanians were originally created by the late previous Hydro Archon, with Oceanids as their basis. The evidence for that can be found in how only Fontanians could dissolve in primordial seawater, and how all the girls Vacher dissolved were also turned into Oceanids. Oh, and according to Navia, when she was about to get dissolved, she also saw everyone gathered around for a trial, all of them in the shape of Oceanids.
Indeed.
Yeah, and it follows from the content of the first slate that she probably angered Celestia by creating humans without prior permission. That could also explain why the Oratrice judged the Hydro Archon to be guilty. It's to account for that ancient sin.
The Hydro Archon's true sin was creating us?
And yet, after many hundreds of years, the Hydro Archon's creations have turned around to try to judge the Archon within the Opera Epiclese. The twists of history are often the most unexpected of all.
Yeah, isn't the image here just like when Navia fell into the sea? So wouldn't it be trying to show the image of the Hydro Archon also falling into the sea once the prophecy has been fulfilled in the fourth slate? In the end, the people will all be dissolved into the waters, and only the Hydro Archon will remain weeping on her throne. Only then will the sins of the people of Fontaine be washed away. Did Paimon get all that right?
You've made some keen deductions. I must say, given how much you still don't know, it is impressive that you've already managed to connect so many pieces of the truth. However, while you were able to decode all the information on the slates, they've also been etched with an additional layer of hidden information using a different power source. When we were at the ruins, I tried to decipher the hidden information recorded in the slates. But since we only had 3 slates at the time, I was unable to come to a full conclusion. Now that the slate collection is complete, I shall make another attempt to decipher the narrative recorded within. If everything goes well, we should finally be informed of the unadulterated truth.
Well? Did you get it?
I believe I should share this truth not only with you, but with all the people of Fontaine as well. I will try to briefly summarize it for you. Your hypotheses regarding the origin of Fontanians and the sin of the Hydro Archon were both correct. In the Fontaine of old, the previous Hydro Archon sensed the yearning of her Oceanid familiars for life on land. The Oceanids were enamored with the beauty and romanticism of human beings, and wishing to have those experiences for themselves, expressed to the Hydro Archon their desire to become of a similar kind. However, even though water as an element is intricately linked with the power of life, the Hydro Archon, as one of the 7, did not possess the authority to create a new form of human life. Not one to give in, she eventually found a way to create permanent humanoid bodies for her familiars by appropriating the power of this planet's primordial sea. She poured primordial seawater into the Oceanids' blood vessels, creating humanoid mimics in the process. But if Fontanians were to ever come into direct contact with water from the primordial sea, the power within their bodies would escape these artificial restraints and return to the sea. As a result, their forms would collapse, and they would be reverted to their original forms as Oceanids. Of course, the Hydro Archon never received permission from the heavenly principles to create a new human race. And thus, the Hydro Archon and all of her creations came to shoulder the original sin of appropriating the power of the primordial sea. That is the true history of how the people of Fontaine first came into being.
So We were all Oceanids before we turned into human beings?
That's way too much information for me. I think I'm just going to pretend that I never heard a single thing. Wait, but if that's the truth, we can't let the Hydro Archon be sentenced to death. After all, her only sin was creating us.
This really might be too much information for your regular Fontanian, but it does answer a lot of our questions.
Alas, your hypothesis regarding the third and fourth stone slates was inaccurate. The slates' respective positions are, in fact, correct. A key point of the visual on the third slate is how all the individuals depicted in the water are humans rather than Oceanids. They have not been dissolved, which implies that the water depicted in this slate is not water from the primordial sea. The nation of Fontaine is the nation of Hydro, as well as the nation of Trials and Justice. Instead of being the literal element, the water in the scene symbolizes judgment and justice. You may also recall Navia's experience. When she fell into the sea, her consciousness was surrounded by that of many others who intended to hold a trial to determine her fate. Therefore, the meaning of the third slate is that the people of Fontaine shall try the Hydro Archon at the court. Yes, it refers to our present situation.
I think I'm following now. So, what you're saying is, even though we decided to put on this trial to avoid fulfilling the prophecy, in truth, everything we've done has happened exactly as the prophecy foretold. So now, it seems, we're the ones making sure it comes true.
What should we do?
Huh. No matter what, the prophecy will be fulfilled. Is this what it feels like to be a prisoner of fate?
If that's the case, does that mean the scene in the fourth slate will also be fulfilled soon?
Traveler, I would like to point out another small fallacy in your deductions. About the fourth slate, you probably thought that the eruption of primordial seawater beneath the fortress of Meripede served as the surest sign that the prophecy was about to come to pass, yes? However, I believe that rather than being a sure sign, that eruption could in fact only be a small warning of something far worse to come. As for the root cause of the catastrophe, I believe you've already encountered it once before. This eruption was just a small warning of the things to come. We must find the root cause of the disaster.
It was both dream and reality.
If we're talking about a true culprit, that could only be that thing inside the primordial sea, right?
The truth, the original sin, the trial, and the root cause of the disaster.
So we've met it at last. I understand very well why it has chosen to make an appearance here. That whale does not belong to Tevat. It is a monster that has traversed the stars, weeping all the while. It has been greedily consuming the energy from the planet's primordial sea, using it to grow. That is the main cause for the rising sea levels. And once it has finished consuming all of the energy contained within the sea, its next step will be...
You said that when the Hydro Archon first created Fontanians out of Oceanids...
Precisely. That whale finds the blood of Fontanians nigh impossible to resist. Therefore, when it left the primordial sea, it decided to make its next stop a packed opera house full of food. Food in the form of Fontanians.
We just barely managed to push it back, right? In that case, won't it come back to target the people again, once it's managed to recover its strength?
That is correct. Indeed, it is more accurate to say that we should thank that Harbinger for buying us some time. Without him, the whale would have likely come onto land far sooner. From the way he looked, he must have been fighting the creature for quite a long time.
That battle maniac. We've always known that he had a special connection with that whale, but we definitely didn't expect it to help us out like this. Anyway, now that we know that this whale is the actual cause of the disaster recorded in the prophecy, all we need to do to stop the prophecy would be to find a way to beat it up, right?
It is too late. It had already absorbed too much of the primordial sea's energy before we could notice it. At this point, it has become practically integrated with the sea itself. Even if the entirety of Tevat were to be destroyed, it could still survive and swim off towards some other world.
That's not something I will accept. We've already done everything we can, and we even found the true culprit. We've come so far. You can't just tell me that the last hurdle is some impossible foe. That's just not fair.
Indeed, that's not how a grand performance should end.
I'll fight it to the end, no matter what.
So the prophecy will be fulfilled no matter what, huh?
The prophecy. Yes, what has been prophesied will be fulfilled. You may view such things as the history of the future. Just as prophecies are usually only the future as seen from the perspectives of the gods, could things be happening in hidden corners where the gods' gaze does not fall? Ultimately, fate shall serve as your only guide, no matter what will happen in Tevat's future. All you need to do is to play your part.
What's happening with the oratories?
I believe it is preparing to carry out the death sentence.
Farina! No, I still need answers.
You...
Sorry. That shocked expression on your face is just too amusing. I couldn't help myself.
You are not Farina. Who are you?
Ah, the sweet sound of bewilderment. Marvelous. A sure sign that my attempt to deceive everyone was a resounding success. But to answer your question, I am Focalor. You know, the god.
Focalor? Why did you deceive us?
Oh, that wasn't my goal, of course. Goodness, no. But I had to fool everyone else too, if I was to stand any chance of deceiving the heavenly principles.
Deceiving the heavenly principles?
It's all because of that pernicious prophecy. Dreadful, wasn't it? Everyone doomed to dissolve. Fontaine condemned to be flooded. One was not amused. In fact, one was positively bemused when that problem was thrust upon me by my dearest predecessor. That's the former Hydro Archon Egeria for the uninitiated. It hardly gets more disastrous than a preordained national catastrophe, now does it? She knew full well that the prophecy would surely come to pass. And as one of the seven, she also knew full well that one defies the heavenly principles at one's peril. So yes, as you have no doubt surmised, it was a rather impossible situation that I found myself in. I spent a terribly long time mulling it over, alone on the ocean floor. And I was almost growing barnacles by the time I finally realized there was only one possible solution to this confounding conundrum. I had to outwit the heavenly principles, allow the prophecy to be fulfilled, ostensibly at least, while saving everyone at the same time. I'm a genius, I know. I can only assume that's why Egeria chose me as her successor. Although, looking back now, it was hardly the inheritance one dreams of. Between the task of saving the nation, the quotidian duties of the Hydro Archon, and not to mention the original sin of creating a new race of humans, I dare say she left me quite a colossal mess to clean up. But one can only play the hand one is dealt. I did not choose this, any more than I chose to be one of her Oceanid familiars.
So you were also once one of the Oceanids, transformed into a human by Egeria's hand?
Yes, I was. I always dreamed of becoming human. And I still do, even now. In my eyes, to be human is to be part of the greatest opera ever known. After becoming a god, I separated my divinity from my body and spirit, leaving behind only a self that was as naive and bewildered as my past self on her first day as a human being. The me you see before you now is that divinity, and the human counterpart I left behind I named Farina. She could feel joy, sorrow, and everything in between. She could be as vain and conceited, or as meek and vulnerable as she wished. Her strengths were of a kind only a human could possess, as were her shortcomings. But in my eyes, Farina's humanity was what made her perfect. She was perfectly human in every way. The person I always wanted to be. Anyway, so then I cursed her. All part of the plan, of course. The plan to deceive the heavenly principles. Do you still remember the final scene of the prophecy? The Hydra Archon alone, weeping on her throne. In order that the prophecy might appear fulfilled, I invited Farina to be an actress, to play the part of the Hydro Archon in the prophecy. Under the curse I placed on her, so long as I, Focalor's divinity, continued to exist, she could not die. But nor was she free to live her life in the pursuit of happiness. Instead, she was forced to take the stage in the opera house, to embrace the role of leading lady, to forever play the part of the god from the prophecy, all to create a deceitful appearance of that prophecy coming to pass. I suppose now you probably understand why your court is called the Opera Epiclese.
But Farina is only human, isn't she? Even though she has had a long life, her mind is no stronger than that of any other ordinary human being. I cannot begin to fathom what she has had to endure. It must have been torture for her.
It has indeed. And although she is, in a sense, me in human form, I most definitely owe her an apology for it. It's been 500 years, and all along, she's been playing her part in the most unimaginably long, unbearably lonely, and agonizingly painful opera of all time.
Oh, who permitted you to come onto the stage? Now, I understand your admiration for my august self, but I must ask you to keep to the rules. All right. It is not my intent to reprimand you. There is no need to state your name. Just be off with you. Do not distract me from my performance. Oh, do not jest. Can you not feel it? I am Focalor. The eyes of countless Fontanians are upon me. I must, at all times, display the utmost elegance and nobility. Dear audience, the performance is experiencing a technical difficulty, but worry not. The guards shall resolve it soon enough. Yeah. Ha. Ta. Ta. Ha. Incinerate. Yeah. Ta. Ta. Yeah. Lightning Slash! Motion to compel! Leave it all to me. I'll protect us.
dance! Ja. Ha. Da. Motion to compel! Incinerate! Ha. Inadmissible evidence! Ja. Boom boom! Ha. Ja. Ha. Huh. Yeah. Huh. As a dutiful maid would. Someone, I'll protect us. I must leave no stone unturned. I'll catch up. Let the show be. Leave it all to me. Incinerate! I'll boom boom!
Hey, what gives? The audience is still watching me, you know. Guards? Wait, where are the guards? Guards!
Let the show begin.
Boom boom!
Ha! Ta! Oof! Ta! Ja! Ha! Ja! Motion to compel. Ja! Ja!
Time for your arraignment!
Incinerate! Oof! I'll protect us. Motion to compel. I must leave no stone unturned. Let the show begin.
Incinerate!
Motion to compel. Oof! Ja! Da! Ha! Ja! Ha! Ja! Ha! Da! I'll protect us. Oh no! Steady as stone.
Lightning slash!
Let's dance.
Lightning slash! Bellowing thunder!
Furina. Furina.
Huh? Who's that? Who's calling me? Where are you?
Be not nervous. Be not afraid. I am before you.
Wait a moment. You're Mirror Me? How can this be?
Mirror you, huh? You know what? That's not bad. Let's go with that.
Mirror Me. What do you wish to say?
The prophecy. Have you heard of it?
What prophecy? Wait. I know. I think. I don't know why, but it's in my head somehow. The people will all be dissolved into the waters, and only the Hydro Archon will remain, weeping on her throne. Only then will the sins of the people of Fontaine...
Oh, very good. You know it well.
What's going on? I can't seem to remember anything clearly. The only thing I know for sure is this prophecy. Will it really come to pass?
Yes, it will. And that is why I've come to you. Disaster will come to Fontaine sooner or later. Things will develop just as the prophecy declared. There is no escaping it.
But doesn't that mean everyone will die? I'm a Fontainian just like them. Will I dissolve too?
Oh, don't worry. Magical meetings exist in this world precisely to give people a chance to turn things around. It is the reason why you met me today. I will tell you how to save everyone, but you may have to suffer somewhat.
Oh, so there's still hope after all. Goodness, you frightened me. You spoke so much and with so much certainty. As for the suffering, well, I will admit that the first thing that came to mind was, why do I have to be the one to suffer? But if the prophecy will come true, I'll also die anyway, right? So if I've already met you as my magical meeting in this world, if there were scales, with all the people of Fontaine on one side and my pain on the other, is it not obvious where the scales should tilt?
You truly are the perfect human. My ideal. I suppose this would also be the justice that belongs to you.
Huh?
Don't worry, it's nothing. Listen well. Fontaine has just lost its Hydro Archon. I need you to play a role. That of the new Archon.
Play as a god?
That's right. You must begin a never-ending masquerade. You must never let anyone suspect your identity. If you can keep it up, then I shall have my way of defying this prophecy. But should your identity be revealed, then all hope will be lost.
But how will I do this? A human assuming the role of a god without being exposed.
Don't worry. What you must do is not to turn yourself into a real god. You simply need to play the role of a god as humans imagine them to be. Being a human yourself, I'm sure you already know what such an entity would be like. Remember, your true challenge will not be pursuing divinity, but contending against humanity.
I'm still not sure I understand, but I'll try. I'll try to do this. So, how long am I going to have to play this role?
To accomplish this mission, You will have to stay on the stage for many, many years. You will endure and not grow old until your task ends. But I promise you, all will eventually end in a magnificent and dramatic trial, and everyone will be saved.
A trial, huh? How exciting. I'll be looking forward to it. The Maison Cardinalise has announced my accession. But this, what should I say to most appear like a god? To be honest, I still don't know. Perhaps I should first try to act natural. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and welcome to the Opera Epiclese. I'm sure you've all heard about how I have taken on the role of Hydro Archon. Indeed, I am Verena de Fontaine, your new Archon. In truth, I know little about becoming a nation's new god, but it will be my honor to guide you all. As the god Focalor, the god of justice, I shall do all within my power to lead you into an age of fairness and justice. Once again, thank you all for coming. If you should have any questions or suggestions, please send them to the Maison Cardinalise. The future of Fontaine will require us to work together, after all. This should do it. I thought I might stammer, but thankfully, I was able to...
That's the new Hydro Archon. Is this some kind of joke by the Maison? I would have thought that a being that surpasses humanity would be a bit more assertive.
Hey, did you hear that? She even told us to send her suggestions there at the end.
Shouldn't gods be all-powerful? She's being so modest. What's the difference between her and an ordinary person, then?
If you ask me, perhaps the succession didn't actually happen. She might just be a Maison-backed puppet.
Wait, what's going on? Why is everyone suspecting me of being a fake? Oh, this is bad. If I get exposed here, there'll be no saving the people from the prophecy. Right. Mirmi said that I just need to play the role of a god as humans imagine them to be. Calm down, Verena. Think. What do the people want? How would they imagine a god to speak and act? Assertive, with a strong sense of presence. One who can dispel all doubt. That is the character I'm fated to play. Oh, very good, my people. Only ones such as you are deserving of my rule. Now, I was wondering, if some weak puppet were to one day come onto the stage and claim ownership of this opera house, would the children of Fontaine follow them? Well, it seems that you would all see right through them. Having passed my test, you are qualified to witness wondrous trials alongside my august self, here in this opera house. You may consider my previous act a door gift of sorts. I thought it was a debut that suited the atmosphere. Now then, let us be reintroduced.
Ah, so that was just a performance. How could I have forgotten that we were inside an opera house?
Her personality. It's quite shocking, to be honest, but I suppose it's a better look than before.
Such a fascinating and bold deity. How wonderful! Our future may yet be bright after all.
It seems I've turned them around. Best follow this flow and restart my accession speech. My dear people, whether you acknowledge me or not, whether you trust me or nay, I say to you, keep faith in your ardor for justice. We have heard it said that this nation's sins can no longer be washed away. Well, I say that justice is most fragrant when it blooms amid sin. The scales of justice should not weigh heavy in the hands of its God. On one side, it must carry fairness and justice. And on the other, praise and applause. May law be the prayer on our lips. May judgment be our worship. Let us light the fires and drink to the future of Fontaine! There is no trouble in this world that justice cannot solve. All that is needed is for you, my people, to believe in it, heart and soul. So long as I, the Archon Focalor, stand within the Opera Epiclese, so long as I stand before the Oratrice, I shall even judge the gods of this world!
Lady Farina, here are today's case reports as well.
Come now. Besides, none of these trials were the one that I'm looking forward.
If I may be so impertinent.
A magnificent, dramatic.
That's true, I fear I.
No need for fright. And do not take what I said before too seriously. Go now.
Lady Farina,
No need. All right.
He is doing much better. You're such a gentle and wise.
Lady Farina.
I see. It's as I thought, then. As your god, I did already. All manner of signs indicate that the prophecy will.
Well, as I understand it.
Really?
I'm afraid that they haven't.
Oh, is that so? The day is fine, but it's good to maybe this is fun.
Lady Farina, here are the.
They'll be.
Lady Farina.
Indeed, my.
Lady Farina, we're detecting significant
Understood. Keep monitoring. I don't think I let anything slip today. I must show the people. I just don't know when these days will end. I feel utterly exhausted. Best to rest early today.
Farina. I've heard that the...
And what a fine family yours is indeed. It brings me great joy to meet such a fate. What is it, good citizen?
Are you crying?
Uh-huh. Really now? This must be the overflow of hydro from my person. Well, can't quite help being the god.
No wonder. No wonder. A manifestation of your power.
So interminable. Hundreds of years must have passed by now. Perhaps I never imagined that it would have reached my limit. I want to tell someone, anyone, about this. But would that not I have conducted so many investigations across the centuries. But all I can do is keep heart. I must maintain this act.
Farina, you don't have to shoulder this burden alone, although I don't know what you might be keeping from everyone. Your people are more than willing to share your burden with you.
Share my burden. That's impossible. It was fated right from—
But even if your burden doesn't need to be shared, you can still choose to confide in someone. Just share it with me. I'm what you'd call a witness.
A witness? And if to that it... If that's... She's right. I could confide, but if things don't No, Farina. But what if... Farina, you've worked so hard for so... Is it such an outrageous thing to do anyway? To find someone, if you let this opportunity slip through your fingers, think about it. Long and hard. No, I have nothing to say. All you need to do, dear spectator, is to witness my performance until the...
Fine.
So even Farina doesn't know the truth? You've never once let her in on the full plan?
Yes, it had to be done. To deceive the heavenly principles, you must first deceive yourself. She did very well. If she had let her resolve falter even once in these 5 centuries, Fontaine would have been doomed to the most tragic fate. It seems that trusting humanity was the right decision after all.
I believe that I understand how your deception works, but that is only half the truth, is it not? How would you build on this foundation to save the people of Fontaine? That is the most important thing.
Ah, good, good. Of course, the Iudex of Fontaine has pinpointed the crux of the issue. I'm sure you've long sensed that the Oratrice is no simple machine.
I've always suspected that it had its own consciousness. And Lenny did mention that he heard a human voice within the core chamber. It now seems that that person was you, hidden within the machine all along. Am I right?
And then I became one with the Oratrice, taking Fontaine's gnosis with me. Yes, it would seem so, wouldn't it? Alas, your understanding of this device still lacks sufficient depth. In truth, it is no enactor of justice. It is, in fact, a device created to kill the god of justice.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, you have it. And to be more precise, not only will the Oratrice take down the god of justice, it will also take down the divine throne upon which she has been placed. I mean, did you think I would be the sort to enjoy peaceful repose while Farina suffered? My work over these last 500 years has been to constantly accumulate indemnitium within the Oratrice. But really, some have already discovered that only a small fraction of the energy generated by the device was ever used to provide power to Fontaine. The vast majority had to be, accumulated to enact this death sentence.
It was all a part of your plan, then? Both the trial and the sentence?
Indeed. This power, accrued over 5 centuries, could have sustained Fontainians for millennia, had it only been used for that purpose. Almost all of it has now been stored within the Oratrice. But only power of this magnitude could hope to destroy the Hydro Archon's divine throne, shaking the rules established by Celestia, and breaking through the institution that is the Seven.
So the Oratrice's call for death was for neither Farina nor Focalor, but for the Hydro Archon. The destruction of that divine throne. If I do not misunderstand your intent, you must be...
returning what's rightfully yours to you, of course. In other words, this was all done to return the authority of the Hydro Archon to the Hydro Dragon of this planet.
But...
Oh, what? Getting sad again, are we? The authority of the ancient dragons shall soon be yours once more, O Hydro Dragon Sovereign. And this is the face you make.
all you've done throughout the years is just so you can sacrifice yourself at the very end.
I've never quite seen it that way, you know. Even now, I'm quite pleased at how well my deception worked. Hydro Dragon, don't cry. I must say, had it been within my rights, I would have loved to judge the heavenly principles themselves. Were they not guilty of essentially the same crime? Egeria stole the power of the primordial sea, and the heavenly principles stole the power you ancient dragons possessed. I, for my part, am the god of justice. And is it not just that your original powers should be returned to you? Speaking of justice, I have always believed that justice lies in the process of pursuing human existence itself. So, if the theft of the primordial sea's might was Fontaine's original sin, then, leaving matters of procedural right and wrong aside, the descent of the Fontainians as humans and their right to exist in this world would be Fontaine's original justice. In other words, existence was Egeria's justice, and to me, justice is the continuation of that existence. Defying the prophecy and ensuring that Fontaine's people shall live on, that should be the justice enthroned over all others. At this point, we, whether it be myself or all other Fontainians, have shouldered the burden of this sin for far too long. Iudex Nervillet, the highest judge in our land, when you regain your full power as an elemental sovereign, what verdict shall you pass upon us?
So when I was invited to the court of Fontaine to serve as Iudex, I see now that that was your idea too, at last. I now understand the true purpose behind this position. In the beginning, I was uninterested in human existence. But these 5 centuries of living alongside them have gradually brought about mutual understanding between us. And I have even attempted to feel as they feel. You are a devious one, Focalors. Things being as they are, surely you know that I could never declare them to be guilty.
The hour of my execution is almost here. For the sinner, the curtain call has come. I know I may not sound it, but faced with death, I find myself a little afraid. Perhaps this is one thing both gods and humans have in common. Farewell, Nervalette. I hope you've enjoyed the part you played these 500 years.
I, Iudex Nervalette, hereby declare, people of Fontaine, your sins are forgiven.
What just happened? Has the death sentence been carried out?
Was that bright light some sort of misdirection? I have a feeling that something huge just happened.
But since we're all still alive and haven't been dissolved, I assume whatever happened was good for us.
It's time to end this. We must mete out punishment to that beast.
Didn't you say just a moment ago that it can't be defeated?
I have gained the strength sufficient to deal with it. Through certain means, I now have the ability to separate the power of the Primordial Sea from that creature. We should seize the opportunity to pursue our quarry. Traveler, now that the oratories can no longer function, I require an executor to help me mete out justice. The root of the calamities befalling Fontaine, the beast that enacts the prophecy. Its name is the all-devouring Narwhal. Come with me, traveler. The hour of execution has come.
going to execute it? But how are we going to do that? It's huge!
I've already done my best to separate the power of the primordial sea from the whale. But considering the size of the beast, I cannot reach the power source. Unless we can find a way to attack it from within. I shall share a part of the ancient dragon's power with you. We shall look for an opening together.
I must leave no stone unturned.
I can feel its sorrow turning into hostility.
Steady as stone.
The all-devouring narwhal cannot resist its instinct to devour. Continue to trigger its hostility, and chance will present itself.
I must leave no stone unturned. Let the show begin.
Why is there a hole-looking thingy over there? It looks really scary.
Steady as stone.
I have granted you my protection. Do not fear. Seize the moment and use my power to suppress its root from within.
First you don't succeed.
Breath of the flame! Boom boom!
Hi.
Incinerate! Boom boom!
I'll protect us.
Motion to compel!
Thanks for helping with the cleanup. It should have been my job, but... oh well. It was just supposed to be a short private training session for me. I didn't think that my disciple and my master's pet would start brawling in the meantime. Well, actually, I had a feeling that it would happen at some point, but they bumped into one another earlier than I thought. What a blunder. I suppose I'll have to swing my sword 3 million times as penance.
That power. Who are you exactly?
Paimon has an idea. From what she said earlier, she must be Child's master. Skirk, right? It's just that he gave us the impression that she was the less talkative person.
I simply did not have anything to say to the weak. But you, on the other hand, managed to defeat the all-devouring narwhal without using power from beyond this world. So you may speak to me as equals. I have to agree. It's a strange use of a planet's primordial waters just to raise an all-devouring narwhal. That kind of power is wasted on it. It's not cooperative, it eats too much, and I have more important things to do with my time than pet sitting. The only thing that creature has going for it is its looks. All in all, it fails as a pet.
Miss Skirk? I think you might have missed the point.
The point being?
Well, being that this pet almost destroyed an entire nation. So what sort of person is your master? Well, child's master's master. Wait, is that right?
Oh, right. So you don't know him. Sorry, I assumed you did. His name is Sir Telogi.
Huh?
I am unfamiliar with that name.
Huh. So Master is insufficiently famous. How should I describe him then? Have you heard of the name The Fowl?
The Fowl?
Still nothing? Well, how about the Visionary? Vetterfulnir then? Or Gold Rhine-Daughter?
Ooh, that one we've heard! Rhine-Daughter's part of the Hexen Circle. She's Albedo's mom, right?
Oh, so you do know that name. To be honest, I also heard all of those names and titles from my master. I don't actually know them either. But I suppose you understand now, yes? My master is likely a similar sort to Rhine-Daughter. They are both pursuing some form of perfection.
Wait! Didn't you also mention a visionary person? Paimon didn't quite catch their name.
Actually, never mind that. I believe it expedient to inform you that the all-devouring narwhal used up nearly all its strength fighting you. Such roiling hydro energies will prove difficult for the planet's deep seas to digest. As such, the fontaine back on the surface has most likely been thrown into chaos. In other words, the prophecy that you've been fretting over should now be in full swing.
What?
Not to worry. Focalor has already managed to deceive the heavenly principles.
In the end, the people will all be dissolved into the waters, and only Farina will remain, weeping on her throne. Only then will the sins of the people of Fontaine be washed away.
Hey! Help! Over here!
All hands, initiate emergency rescue! Hurry!
Hey, lend a hand!
Look! The water's receding!
It's a miracle!
Water's receding.
We didn't dissolve. The prophecy was wrong. The prophecy was wrong.
Are you right?
We're saved. The prophecy was wrong.
The soil renewed. The Spina attacks post-disaster rebuilding. I recently visited Poisson to meet with Miss Navia, spokesperson of the Spina, and we spoke about Poisson's present and future. Old soil can still give birth to new bloom, Miss Navia stated. Hope is like seeing a small cookie when you're starving late at night. You just need a little of it. Skyship Winglet, boon or bane of the Fontaine Research Institute. The various disputes that have arisen on account of Mr. Edwin have suddenly become a shield over the Institute, with Jurier turning out to be a once-overlooked hidden gem. People always call the first researcher mad, but few know what to call the second. And should that latter person achieve a miracle, they would find it all the harder to find a word with which to classify him and his team. Wow! Paimon barely recognizes the people in the reports. Are those really Jurier and Navia? They sound like real big shots.
What do you think? Pretty enthralling, huh? The Steambird's idea was pretty simple. With the disaster just having passed, we would print a free edition packed to the margins with good news to calm people down. The value for these big scoops lies in their inevitable follow-ups. We'll publish further reports and go into the stories behind those people. Edwin's assistant, Jurier, created a true flying ship, while Navia is leading people in the reconstruction of their home. I'm sure that these stories could draw even your well-traveled eye.
Paimon's curious too! Wait a minute. Didn't we watch everything happen from start to finish? What's there to be curious about?
And that's exactly why I'd like you to come conduct interviews with me. You're the best incubators of news, if you haven't noticed. And also, with you around, I'm sure I'll get to see that Duke.
Are you sure? Hasn't he turned you down several times already?
Oh, this time will be different. Come on, let's head to Poisson first, and then make a trip to the fortress. There are some things you'll only know when you get there.